Hello Void, I'm Agitated Crane, and today we will be talking about My Hero Academia episode 7, titled Deku vs Kacchan, which covers chapter 9 of the manga, titled the same way, Deku vs Kacchan, and chapter 10, Breaking Bakugo, which kinda sounds like breaking like a special move or something, or like a martial art or something like that. Anyway, I will be in a slightly ASMR mood today because it is already past midnight that I'm recording, and so I will try to be not too loud as is not to wake up the entire city. And there was something else that I wanted to mention, but I guess I forgot, so whatever. Now, let's start, I guess. We start with a flashback, or more precisely, it's kind of like an explanation about where we are coming from. Well, okay, if I'm going to be literal, we start with a recap of what happened in the previous episode. But after that and the opening, we go to Izuku explaining what was the deal with Kacchan and him. And this is quite curious thing, I would say. Less so about how Izuku views it, but more about Bakugo. I think you guys might remember that I have been curious about what the fuck is going on with Bakugo, why is he the way he is, and if there is more to him, or if he's just a bully, or whatever is happening, right? Now, this episode goes into this. It goes into this slightly later, I guess, but so I think I will talk about it when we get to it from the Bakugo point of view. But what Izuku currently explains is that they lived in the same neighborhood, and because they lived in the same neighborhood, they were kind of friends. They would hang out with other kids in the neighborhood, and Bakugo was like a natural born leader, I guess, or how should I describe it? I would maybe not call it a leader specifically, but like a driving force for the group. Or at least that's my understanding, like where he would get an idea, and that's what the group would be doing for that day, you know? You know what I mean. You probably used to be a kid at some point and you had the same group in the neighborhood, and so some kid would always get like an idea, and then you try to follow that, right? And so that's what Izuku says, that he was kind of like this driving force, and he was very confident, and so everyone was kind of doing what he wanted to do. And he would say that Bakugo wasn't really good or bad, he was just what was the word that he used actually? Full of confidence. He wasn't bad or good, just full of confidence, and I admired him for that. And yeah, so you kinda get that So that's I would say it's even like a good trait. So yeah. And he then continues that actually when he got his quirk, he started to be more bad. And I do not agree with Izuku on this, and I think, you know what, I feel like we should probably jump ahead a little bit and tell Katsuki side of the story, maybe? I'm not sure. Well, I mean, between those two flashbacks, we really get like just a small snippet of the actual story that is going on with in the present time. So maybe, yeah, let's just quickly cover that. Basically, we have the behind the scenes All Might commenting with the class what is going on, where Katsuki is fighting with Izuku, and everyone mentions that there is that they can't hear anything. It's just a video, but All Might explains that each team has like a radio in their ear, so they can communicate with their teammate, and that they so and he can hear it as well and communicate with them. So the kids or the rest of the class cannot hear it, but All Might can hear the conversation. I think that's kind of important note here. And also, so the equipment the teams received was the radio and capture tape, which is like this tape, and if you tie the opponent with it, then you kind of incapacitated him, supposedly. So there is that. Izuku at this point is hiding from Kacchan. Uraraka went ahead to deal with Tenya and the bomb, and Izuku or Katsuki is chasing Izuku around because he has a beef with him. And that's where Izuku kind of recaps what's like his side of the story, the background. He mentions that Katsuki is hot-headed, and he's acting on his own. Basically, he did not discuss this with Tenya, because if they discussed it, they would probably come up with a better strategy. Instead, Katsuki charged ahead, which is kind of good because it's basically like no teamwork between those two. I'm gonna speculate that there isn't really that much of teamwork between Uraraka and Izuku either. I mean, there is by the end, but it's not like how should I put it? They discuss the strategy in the beginning, and then by the end of the exercise, they kind of also communicate through the radio, which contrasts how Kacchan and Tenya communicate, because Tenya, he sometimes tries to contact Katsuki, and Katsuki says, fuck off, I'm doing my own thing. So there isn't really that much communication going on in that team. Izuku also remembers that when when they were in the previous school, and everyone was making fun of him that he wants to apply for the superhero school. Katsuki also was kind of pissed off that Izuku wants to apply for the same school, and Izuku was saying it's not like I'm trying to compete with you or something like that. And now he says that I take it back. Well, he says it to himself basically, but it's you know the anime, right? It's kind of like he's telling it to Katsuki, but in fact it's like his inner monologue and stuff like that. So anime stuff, you know. So he says that he takes it back, that he wants to beat him, basically. That and it's again like another step in his towards him being more confident, that he now views himself as equal and as deserving as Katsuki of this place, which is nice. And then we get flashback from Katsuki point of view, also to the same time period when they were kids, and here is where it gets slightly weird. So Katsuki does everything well, basically. He's good at sports, I guess. He's not clumsy. I guess that's like the big thing with kids. He's smart, and so he says we get shown like he let me check if we can actually see it here. So we get shown, come on, game, not game, TV show. Okay, so we get shown this where Katsuki, oh my god, I just realized I don't know the word for this. Is it juggling? It's not juggling. When you kind of like kick the ball so it doesn't touch the ground, but you are just kicking it. I'm gonna call it juggling, and you can correct me in the comments below. So we are shown this, and Katsuki says that this is really easy. You should be able to do it as well. And then we get switched to where Katsuki explains that the kanji in Izuku name can be read as Deku. And I tried to look into this because I have a difficult relationship with Japanese. When I was younger, I was really into Japanese culture, and so, well, let's put it this way, I wasn't really into Japanese culture. I was into anime, manga, I was into JRPGs for some part, I guess, for smaller part, but not like hugely into JRPGs, which is okay. I kind of want detour. I kind of want to play JRPGs on the channel, but I feel like it's going to be like thousands of episodes because they are really grindy usually. But I think we should cover at least like some bigger ones. Anyway, detour over. So I was under impression that I really liked Japanese culture because I liked anime, I liked manga, I thought that samurais are cool, kind of that type of stuff, right? And I actually tried to apply for a school that was focused on like Japan. So you would learn like a language there, the history, culture, stuff like that, and then you are supposed to be I don't know what when when you finish that school. Maybe travel to Japan and try to work there. I don't know. I really don't know what was my plan. My it was just that I was interested in Japanese, and so I started to learn stuff. Um, I learned. I later realized that it's not like I really love Japanese culture. Like it's it's that that thing, right? That I mentioned. I like anime. I like manga. I like samurais, but that does not mean that I love all the Japanese culture. And as I grew slightly older, I I started to disagree with with some of the stuff that that the Japanese culture was focusing on, where I, I I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Where I don't know, for example, like the fact that they are very polite and stuff like that, you know. And don't get me wrong, I still like Japan, but it's just that I understand that my upbringing was different, and my values are not like the bigger values, but like there are philosophical differences between me and Japanese, or more broadly, I guess, Asians. And that's not necessarily like a wrong thing. It's just that I lost that fascination because I realized that I don't really love that. It's not necessarily that I love everything Japanese, is that I enjoy some parts of their culture, but I don't like want to become Japanese or something like that, you know. It's kind of like in Galactic Civilizations, if you played that game. I think it's in the third one. If you go for the cultural victory, you then get like this pop-up where it says that the aliens across the universe, they want to be like you, so if they have like extra limbs or something like that, that they cut it off because they want to be like you, basically. So that's not what I'm doing with Japanese. And also because I realized that there is this difference. I also realized that it's probably impossible for me to ever move to Japan, because also when I was younger, I would like, as I was saying, I was absorbing Japanese media, and so I would be fascinated with Hokkaido. I think Hokkaido is it one of the islands? Give me a second. I want to make sure. Hokkaido. Yeah, it's like one of the islands slash regions, and it's from what I have seen, it's really pretty. But it's like you can probably see pretty places from other parts of the country as well. But it's I don't know. It's just I don't think remember exactly what triggered this, but I somehow fell in love with Hokkaido. And so I was like, oh, when maybe if I learn Japanese, I could move there and live in this nice town in Hokkaido or something like that, and I grew out of it basically, which is kind of sad to say. And why I'm talking about it is because when I was younger, I would try to learn Japanese as well. I think Japanese is relatively difficult language, and it's tough to. I feel like even if you learn it, it still would be difficult for you to use it because it uses. And this is kind of what I was talking about, different philosophy of the people. That I feel is also reflected in Japanese language. So for example, when we talked about in previous episode, when we talked about Deku and what his name meant and what how it was how Deku was given a different context for the name. It's so like the politeness tones and stuff like that, and that's like only one of the levels there. And I feel like it would be tough for people who did not grow up immersed in that culture. I feel like it would be difficult to master, I would say. Because, for example, when I was young, I moved to a different country. It was very easy for me to learn the language, but also it was also a different Slavic country. Then I was learning also German, I was learning English. Both of them were relatively easy to learn. But with Japanese, it's like really tough. I think, because you would have to. I feel like you would have to be constantly thinking about how to talk, in what tone, because you don't want to be disrespectful when you are supposed to be respectful, you know. So yeah, I honestly, like, me myself, I'm scared of Japanese language. Even when I was learning it, I understood that this is like a surface knowledge. Like you can't really expect to go to Japan with that level. Well, my level was very very low, but even if I learned all that was available to me, I understood that it wouldn't be enough. So anyway, when I was trying to learn Japanese, I was learning hiragana and katakana. And what's curious, well, it's not curious, but the way Japanese works is the words that are written in hiragana or katakana, they can then be some words can be written in kanji, which means that well, okay, this is difficult to explain because I'm not a professional. Consider hiragana and katakana as letters, basically. And already you can see that it's basically two alphabets. I'm not sure exactly why there are two of them. I don't remember. If I'm being more precise, I know that when I was learning it, I was looking into it, and there was an explanation why they have two alphabets. But they have two alphabets. And then on top of that, they can use kanji to write words specifically. And so now we are finally getting to the point that I was trying to get to with Izuku, where Izuku and this I asked again ChatGPT for help to explain it to me. I could be understanding it wrong, but basically the way Izuku is written, it can be read using different logics. So even when interpreting kanji, you can use either one logic or the other logic, and it's kind of like a pun, I guess. Anyway, also don't blame ChatGPT for my misunderstanding on how the word actually translates. I gave up trying to understand it, because for me to understand it, I think I would have need to understand the kanji themselves and the way they are read. And because I can't understand that, it's just me relying on ChatGPT telling me, oh yeah, this kanji, it can be read like this, or it can be read like this. So that, but then you know, it's kind of like, it tells me that 2 plus 2 is 4, but I can't prove it on with my fingers. It's kind of like that. So, sorry. And so there is basically another level to Deku. Not only does Deku mean useless, so there is another level on of that where his name can be read as Deku. So Izuku can be read as Deku, Deku being useless or being well, yeah, literally meaning useless. So it's actually something that this writer seems to like a lot, like those. Is it double meanings or puns? How would you describe it? Because we had in the manga, in one of the previous episodes, when we were looking at Ochako Uraraka, it was explained like when he came up with that name, he was really happy because it meant this. I think it was something nice vibe and good time tea or something like that. But so you can kind of see that he really likes playing with the language. So Deku being originally useless wooden puppet, then being recontextualized as you can do it stuff, and now with how Izuku can be read, so that's another interesting point there. But let's go back to this flashback. So Katsuki gives Izuku this nickname because of the how kanji can be read. But this is where it gets a little bit strange, because at this point, this is where Katsuki basically starts bullying Deku. And Deku's, or Izuku, he says that Deku's... Oh my god, now I'm getting confused. And Izuku says that Katsuki started to go bad when he received a quirk, which is like another interesting topic. Like it almost sounds like maybe quirk, the type of quirk you have could change your character, but that's a different topic. I honestly, like, I don't think that's what even happened, because as I'm mentioning, he starts to bully Izuku even before he has a quirk. And here we have, and then he gets a quirk, and everyone is, or everyone, like the teachers in the kindergarten, they say, "Oh, what an amazing quirk! You're going to be a flashy superhero," and stuff like that. And this basically goes directly into Katsuki's head, and he says, I am amazing, I am the best," and stuff like that, right? And we actually, I should probably look this up, because it's really a nice shot, I would say. Yeah, so we get this where you can really see that it is really going into his head, this praise. And yeah, and then we get not counter, but we then get some lines about Deku, how he is quirkless, and it reaffirms for Katsuki that Katsuki is awesome. He can do whatever, he can do everything the best way, compared to Deku, who is useless, wooden puppet, quirkless, can't do anything. The examples we were given, like the juggling of the ball, the skipping of stones, just like the stuff kids do. And I guess even the stuff that Katsuki can read already, and the other kids were so impressed with that. But yeah, so I want to talk about this, because I don't like this about Katsuki. From the very first episode, you know that I was kind of betting on Katsuki being misunderstood rival, where his view of Deku is that way because of something that happened to his parents, perhaps, or his siblings. This is not the case, and in fact, I feel like the pieces do not fit together, because currently what we have is Katsuki being a prodigy, then he starts bullying Deku, then he receives quirk. With quirk, he goes even more bad. And then he starts to hate Deku. Why he hates Deku even more than what he had previously, apparently. So when they were little, they went over this log, and Katsuki slipped, he fell. Nothing really happened, like he didn't hurt himself or anything like that. But Izuku right away followed, and he was like, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And this really pissed off Katsuki. So we get this, and this really pissed him off. And okay, so from this point on, he's not only just bullying Deku, he absolutely hates him, because he views it as Deku looking down on him, and he cannot fathom this, because me, Katsuki, I am awesome, and now this guy is pretending that he can do something to help me, or I guess that's the interpretation. And then it kind of snowballs, right? Because Deku is fascinated by superheroes, he wants to be a superhero as well, and then Deku charges to save Katsuki when he is being attacked by the sludge monster. And again, Katsuki sees this where Deku... I don't want to say looks down on him, but basically this is what Deku said at that point, right? He said, "You looked like you needed saving," and Katsuki absolutely hates this, right? Now, why this doesn't work for me? And I think this is kind of like some ideas that writer had, and we actually have confirmation from the manga where the writer wanted, or how he wanted Katsuki to be initially and how he is now. And I think there is discrepancy here, because he adjusted it, but you can see the blueprint, or like the skeleton that there used to be. So if we are just talking about the way it is currently, right, then I would have understood if Katsuki started bullying Deku after this incident in this little stream. It's not river. I guess it's just like a stream, puddle. not puddle, surely. But after this incident, I think that's where Katsuki would start hating him. But that's it almost feels like it's not the case. It feels like he was mean, or the way the flashbacks are structured, it seems like Katsuki was mean to Deku even before that. He gave him name Deku being useless even before they knew that he doesn't have a quirk. He gave it for him he gave it to him because he was unable to juggle the ball and stuff like that. And so that's kind of one thing that doesn't add up, and another being where we had that note from the writer in one of the previous manga chapters, where he was talking about the original design of Katsuki. I will actually... I'm not sure if I will be able to show it. Maybe I will. Let's try. Is this it? How do I do this? I guess like this. Okay, so this is the correct chapter, and give me a second, I will try to find him. Here we go. So here in this lower drawing, you can see that the original design, and he also writes that at first I made him a natural born genius who would inadvertently insult people, but that got pretty boring. But I think he kind of kept it like this, like you can kind of see it that he has this. Oh yeah, I can read, can't you? And the the juggling, yeah, of course I can do it. It's really easy. And I feel like, and I'm gonna disagree here with the writer, but I feel like that would have been more organic. Like if he was initially good, and then suddenly he had this episode with Deku, then he would get like upset, like, what do you mean you are trying to help me? How can you help me? I feel like that would have been better, and then he would start to bully him. But as it is now, he already is kind of like a scoundrel. He already bullies him, and then it just escalates further. And I don't like this because this kind of it almost feels like he's too simple. Like that, like there isn't. I don't know how to explain this, to be honest. I don't want to say like that he is one-dimensional character, because I don't think he is actually, and I'm sure whatever the writer is gonna do with him, it's gonna work. Like I have high faith in um, manga artists who manage to push the manga to the point where it is published. So I believe the product is good, right? But just for me personally, like I feel like it would have been better if you had this um, kid that was good at everything and another kid that wasn't good at anything, and the switch would have happened there, right here. What do you mean you? What do you mean you are helping me? That I think I would have understood better. But because I you know, uh, let's do agitated crane therapy hour. So when I was little, and I was in the kindergarten or the school or whatever, the middle school, I guess you would call it. We had a kid there who was really smart, and he I don't want to call him I don't want to compare him directly to Katsuki, because Katsuki is actually, as Izuku mentioned, he is confident and he was like a driving force for the group. The kid that I'm referring to from my flashback wasn't really that confident or that driven, but he was really smart, and he would be all about the grades, which meant that he also had to be good at physical education, right? And in middle school, it's really, really hard to be bad at physical education. I managed to do it eventually because I got fat. But if you're just a regular kid, then it's just running and jumping and all that stuff, and it's the grades are not really about you performing like some Olympic feats, right? Just, yeah, you can move, you get a good grade. And so this kid had good grades there as well. And then one day we had to run like something like an endurance or something, and he got a bad grade for it because we find, okay, hold on. So this was like the toughest exercise, I guess, that we had, which is the endurance running, and this wasn't as easy to do, and it was graded very harshly, and so majority of the guys in our class, which is this is so you can understand how difficult it was actually. Majority of the guys in our class did not get full marks for this exercise, which was basically like running, I think, 1 kilometer, I think. Was it 1 kilometer or was it more? I don't remember. I know it took a long time, and it was basically an endurance running. And you had to run quickly the entire time, otherwise you would get a bad grade, and you couldn't physically run the entire time at the top speed. So honestly, like I don't think there was a single guy in our class who got like the full marks, even the guys that were physically fit at that point. Even they had issues with it because it was seriously like Olympic what is the word I'm looking for? Exercise? No. Well, doesn't matter. It was basically very difficult. And I remember this guy who always got like good grades. He was seriously like crushed by this poor grade that he received. But I'm telling you, like it was fucking impossible. And he wasn't like the strongest guy in the class or anything like that. We had our internal strength ranking in our class, and I was, I think, on like 3rd or 4th place, depending on who you ask. If you ask the 3rd place, he would tell you that I'm 4th place. But it was so we generally had like this ranking, and he wasn't even in the running, right? Because he was kind of like this nerdy guy, but he wasn't fat, he wasn't sick, he wasn't anything like that. He was just a regular kid, so most of the time he would manage to pass everything. But then even like the strong guys in our class couldn't pass this exercise test. So I honestly think, and I honestly believe, that it was rigged. And he was like absolutely crushed. I think he even cried at that point, that it was like unfair and stuff like that. And I think at that point I understood how much it goes into his head. And it's kind of what we see with Katsuki here, where he gets top grades at everything, he is praised for everything, so he thinks he is the best, and that there isn't anything that he can't do, that no one is better in anything than he is, and it really goes into his head. With that kid in my class, by the way, he later there was another break for him where I think there was like some grades where some other guy was receiving better grades than him, and he was really upset about that. And and this is like drama that I wasn't part of eventually, because I left, but I still kept in touch and sometimes visited, and I learned about this later drama later. But he then also had like a girlfriend, and the girlfriend left him, and then he kind of spiraled with grades a little bit. But it kind of stuck with me how much he was focused on grades and having like the best grades of everyone in the class. And when he didn't get it, it was kind of like it was affecting him a lot. In fact, he started to spiral out of control. I think partially because of the grades as well. You also get, and this is my personal experience, when you get good grades, and this like I went a different route. Like the other kid, he was focused on those grades, and then he felt bad when he wasn't doing as well. With me, it was different. At some point, I decided that grading is not fair, so I would for a long time I would have good grades, and then what exactly was it? Well, anyway, at some point I decided that grades do not matter, and because of that I stopped trying for the good grades, if that makes sense. Which means that like I wouldn't do homework sometimes, I wouldn't study for a test if it wasn't something that I was curious about, so I would just write what I remembered and don't study for it and stuff like that. And so my grades were slightly poorer. And I remember when I had this period with poor grades, everyone was making fun of me that I'm like stupid and stuff like that. And then later I had period when I decided to try, basically. And then everyone was kind of weirded out that I went from below average grades to not the best grades, but like above average grades. It was no, I'm being too modest. No, I went from below average grades to the best grades in the class. Not for all subjects, obviously, but for majority of the subjects, I had better grades than most of the class. So I remember everyone being weirded out by it. So I can totally understand if Katsuki had this mindset that he's the best of all and stuff like that, and then suddenly this kid that he was convinced is useless is suddenly doing better than him. I can understand him going a little bit dark, but as I mentioned, like we see him start bullying Izuku even before that, and and I know it could be interpreted differently as well. Like he could start bullying him very young because he notices that Izuku is worse than him, basically. But I don't know, like it seems like we are getting this explanation that the the switch happened here, and I don't see it. And then obviously it escalates when Izuku gets accepted to the school and stuff like that. I feel like I'm disappointed with this revelation. As much as it would have been cliche, I would have preferred there to be some backstory with his parents or something like that. 1 second. Yeah, so I think I would have preferred something else. As it is, I think I can understand it, but it feels a little bit wonky, and it doesn't really feel too deep, if that makes sense. Because again, it's something that I have seen other good graders go through, and I feel like it's not that deep, I would say. It's not that deep, man. It's just you thought you are best at everything, turns out you are not. That's reality. So it's kind of strange that you would have this reaction, basically. And yeah, I honestly like. And again, like this is kind of like a villainous trait at this point, it seems to me. And I was actually thinking about this, and like if we, I think I mentioned it in previous episodes as well. Are we gonna get villain Bakugo? Because we, I see this explanation as to why he bullies Deku. I see it as unreasonable. I see it as him just being mean. I can kinda understand him being against Deku after this incident. I can understand him being upset that he got accepted to the same school, that he outperformed him in some exercises. I can understand that, and I can get like rivalry, maybe even some hatred towards Deku, but we see it way before that as well. And then at that point, also like, why do you want to be a hero? Because it seems like he's only here for validation, for praise. Like he was praised for being the best at everything, so he said, okay, I'm gonna go be a hero, and I'm gonna be praised for that as well. He doesn't really care about saving everyone. We can kind of see it in the test, the entrance exam. He got 0 hero points. He passed purely by bypassing everyone on the point system by defeating enemies. So are we gonna get villain Katsuki, or are we gonna get Katsuki that is all about marketing, but eventually he would be, but ultimately he will be doing the right thing because that's for his fame and image. I don't know, and I'm really I'm really worried where this is going, because sorry, again, like I feel like I don't understand him. I expected one explanation, I got a different one, and it doesn't really fit perfectly. Like I don't get like this, oh my god, I understand it now. I'm getting, I get it, but you know, and it's really a shame, because I don't see this changing anytime soon. Like I don't expect that. Well, obviously, in this episode we get a fight between Katsuki and Izuku, and I don't think that after this fight that anything is going to change drastically. In fact, I think if anything, he's now going into this downward spiral where Izuku is gonna be starting to outperform him more and more. Where not only does he have more powerful quirk, he's also he also has personality that is more valued in hero society, which is something that I did not expect I would mention, because it has been confusing in previous episodes if heroes are actually heroes or if they are celebrities that care about marketing. But we see more and more indications that the school, the teachers, and the students are in it for heroics, for saving people, for helping people, and stuff like that. Katsuki seems to be odd one out, and so I fear that now we are getting into this area where he will be pushed until he snaps and becomes a villain, and I'm not sure I wanted this. I hate bringing this up because it's like it feels like a meme. But we had this in Naruto with Sasuke, and I absolutely hated it because it's kind of like unreasonable, you know. You can't really And maybe it goes down to what I was telling you before, that I don't really vibe with some of the Japanese philosophy. So maybe for Japanese, the stuff with Sasuke makes sense. For me, it didn't. And if we get another Sasuke in Bakugo, I'm gonna hate it. Like, honestly, unless it's done significantly better, I don't want him to become like this villain who is gonna be an asshole for the majority of the series, and then maybe by the final season he decides that he's good or something. I really don't want Izuku storyline to be about, oh, I want to save Bakugo from becoming a villain, or oh, Bakugo became villain, so I want to save him and bring him back to the light side. I'm not saying that that story cannot be told. I'm saying I have bad experience with this type of stories, I guess. So anyway, we have been rambling about this for quite some time, and let's talk about what is actually happening in the real world, meaning in the present time. So in the present time, we get Uraraka finally catching up to, well, not catching up, finding the bomb, and that is being guarded by Tenya. And she overhears Tenya talking to himself that he needs to get into character. He has to be evil. And he starts to absolutely chew the scenery. He begins to ham it up, and he becomes this cartoonish villain. And this I wanted to actually mention this about Tenya, but where was it? At what point did I realize it? I think it's later, maybe. Is it here or at some other point? Oh my god, I forgot. This is very embarrassing. I think it's good spot to talk about it here, maybe. But it seems to me that Tenya is becoming like this comedy character, which is kind of strange. I did not expect him to be comedy character. But it also seems like he's not doing that well. And I'm actually gonna scroll through some manga pages, because maybe I will see it here. He eventually gets outplayed by Uraraka. And I feel like it kinda shows that he's not really suited to being a hero, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's at a later point, I think, when I realized this, because I was under impression that he could have done something and he didn't, and we will talk about it at that point, I think. But yeah, um, Uraraka, or we had this discussion before, and I apologize, I'm bringing it up again. I'm not sure how I should call characters, because we have like the name, surname, and then we also have nicknames. And I kinda don't want to use nicknames, because from the very beginning we saw that the Deku is is meant as an insult. One second. And while Izuku reclaimed that nickname, I still kind of weird. It still kind of feels weird calling him that, and so I use the name instead. But then with other characters, like for example Uraraka, it's easier for me to call her Uraraka. But then with Tenya, it is easier for me to call him Tenya instead of Ida, which is I think it's weird. So I use the names and nicknames interchangeably, and I'm really sorry about this, because I feel like it's not uniform. And so, but hopefully it makes sense. But anyway, uh, Uraraka overhears this inner monologue that Tenya is having, and she just starts to laugh, which makes Tenya not notice her. And so he explains that and maybe this is finally the place to show the manga, because I have been focusing on anime, I feel, too much. But we get shown this scene where Tenya says, "Well, since you can levitate objects that you touch, so I removed all the objects from the area, so you can't really touch anything." And I absolutely love this. I don't know. It's it's comedic, but I liked it. And we get like a small action sequence where um, all of this is intertwined, by the way, with Katsuki fighting Izuku, but I don't want to comment on it too much. What I did want to comment on is the valiant attempt that Uraraka does to capture the bomb, and she... Can I get like the shot that I wanted? Not the ass shot. I will talk about the ass shot later. Okay, this is not the best, but it will have to do. So she basically tries to bypass Tenya by levitating herself and jumping over him, which obviously doesn't work because he is quick. So he instead moves the bomb, because it's really light. I think in previous episode he mentioned that it's paper mache, so he just runs away with it. But we get a shot of her, again, not us, we will talk about the ass later. We get a shot of her footwear, and I am weirded out by it because it's like heels, but it also has like these hooves, which I think removes the heel factor. Like the point of heels is that your heel would be higher than the rest of your foot, right? That's how the heels work. But it seems that her shoes are designed so she has a heel, but at the same time she has like this, and I call it hooves because it fucking looks like hooves, but it's basically like these platforms on the on the other side of her foot, which almost makes it look like it's the same size as the heel. And so, is it just platform shoes at that point? And heels in combat is like a completely different topic that I don't really want to go too deeply in. I feel like from the aesthetic point of view, I am pro heels. Like, they look good, and we are already dealing with fantasy. I don't care that it's unrealistic to run in heels and stuff like that. I don't care about that. So I don't really mind. But then here it seems like they realized that maybe heels would be impractical, but they still wanted to have heels. I don't know. It's kind of strange. Kind of strange. Right, we skipped a little bit, but we basically jump between the two fights, or the fights. The fight that Katsuki has with Izuku, and the fight in quotation marks where Uraraka tries to get the bomb and Tenya is being a very serious villain. So when we switch to the fight between Katsuki and Izuku, Katsuki explains his quirk a little bit. Well, not a little bit, he basically explains that so he excretes like a nitroglycerin sweat from his palms, basically. So he produces this sweat which is extremely flammable, and so the more he sweats, the higher the attack rate, basically. And it's kind of hilarious that so the guy basically has sweaty hands, which usually is portrayed negatively, but that's his superpower. And for me, it's a little bit strange that it's only sweat from the palms, not from like if he sweats from somewhere else, it's regular sweat, it's not nitroglycerin sweat. And I was kind of like not disappointed, but we get the idea from previous episode or the one before that, I don't remember exactly, where it's expected that the quirks are not going to be evolving. I don't know, maybe we will get like maybe it will be changed, because maybe previously the quirks did not evolve, but now we will get like another jump in evolution or something. Who knows? But when I read about the sweat and stuff like that, I was kind of like, okay, so technically he could become like a human torch, know, because if it wasn't just limited to palms, then he can basically everywhere where he sweats, he can flame it on. But I wonder if that is going to be the case. But what else we get is the costume thing, and this was again explained in previous episode. I don't think I spent too much time on it because I didn't get the idea that this is where they are going with costumes. But so Katsuki's costume, as you can see on the cover here, he has those bomb hands, and he explains that he requested this thing basically because he wanted to collect the sweat and then trigger it as another attack basically. So the way he does it is he in those hands he basically collects sweat, which he then can trigger can I get like a nice shot? Well, maybe that will work. So here he has like a pin on the wrist, on the glove, and so when he releases that, I guess all the nitroglycerin that is collected in the gauntlet gets released, and so he can basically increase his attack range, and it can be like a stronger attack, which still works with the rules of his quirk, but it modifies it, doesn't it? Like that's as I mentioned, like the quirk evolving. So maybe it's not going to be like the quirk evolving, but maybe like costume evolving. So the costume could be utilizing the quirk in better ways, or maybe. Okay, so obviously they will be learning to use quirks more creatively. That's, I think, a given. But it seems that also there is possibility to like upgrade costume, which will change the abilities as well. Because here, basically he did not have a ranged attack before. He had just flaming palms, basically. And now he can store that energy as a charge and then release it as a long range attack. So that's quite cool. Quite cool. Right, so when Uraraka was trying to get the bomb, she got thwarted by Tenya, who moved the bomb, and so she just fell. Well, I instinctively wanted to say that she fell on her ass, but that's actually not the case. She fell like this, and as you can, I don't know. Maybe my mind is just too dirty, but I feel like this is like a strange fan service showing her ass like this. This is not present in the manga, and this is also not the first time that we get something like this. Previously with Mount Lady in the first episode, I also got the feeling where the fact that we have this big ass in the sky is being played out a little bit more than it was in the manga. And I don't really have like anything negative to say about it. I it's it's kind of goes hand in hand with anime and manga and stuff like that. I just wanted to point out that I feel like it's there is more focus on it in anime, so it almost feels like the person who is responsible for anime is kind of like a ass guy, which I guess more power to him. I don't know. But another thing that I wanted to mention is that, and this is something that is, I think, serious, right? That I think is more serious, and that I am more upset about. So we get this in manga. In manga, she falls, and you can kind of see here is the way she falls in the manga, so there is no like ass shot. But here we see that she says, "I'm counting on you, Deku." And later on, she communicates with Deku over radio, and you can kinda in the manga it seems that it is her that is that gives Deku instructions, or not instructions, but like she tell well, yeah, she directs Deku what to do a little bit, while in the anime, instead what she says is that and that the Deku is trying hard. So it's this, and it's it's kind of like, oh damn, I failed, and Deku is trying hard, so I'm kind of like holding him back or something like that. So there is that compared to this, where she is counting on Deku, and then in the conclusion of episode something is done, and in the manga it seems like it was Uraraka's idea, or that she was directing Deku what to do, or she was cooperating with him, kinda sinking in, let's put it that way, compared to anime where it seems like it is Deku's idea and he tells Uraraka to prepare for it. And the reason why I don't like it, in the manga it seems like she is supporting of Deku, and that she has faith in Deku, basically. She goes like, oh yeah, I can't do this alone, I'm gonna need Deku's help, I'm counting on you, and then she tells him what to do, or she kind of like directs him to get the result that she wants, and she kind of believes that he can do it. Compared to anime where she goes, oh, Deku is trying hard, and then Deku does something that she capitalizes on. But it seems like they took away her supportive role in order to make Deku cooler. and I feel like this is like a slippery slope. This I have PTSD from Harry Potter, where in Harry Potter, you may know this if you read Harry Potter. Ron Weasley is like a big deal in the books. He's like a really good friend, and he does a lot of cool stuff, a lot of like brave stuff, friendly stuff, and stuff like that. And in the books, in the movies more precisely, some of that stuff is given to Hermione, some of that stuff is being committed, some of the stuff is played for laughs. Ron was character assassinated, basically. And while this is like a tiny change, almost unnoticeable, I like the fact that Uraraka is so supportive of Deku, where she basically relies on him, and she is the one who says, yeah, that Deku can do it, I expect him to do it. And yeah, I did not like it. I did not like this change. It's a small change again, but I don't like it. Yeah, so Katsuki is fighting Deku, and he uses that booster attack, charge attack that he charged with his gloves, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think I mentioned it in some of the previous episodes that I don't really. I have like a problem with art style. Not with the art style. The art style is fine. But I don't really like the background that they are using in the anime. Oh, fuck. This, I guess. It seems bland, if that makes sense. It's and it's something that I have been noticing, and again, I think in previous episode I mentioned that maybe because this is like a dummy areas where that it's not really real areas, but they are like fake training ground areas. Maybe it's because of that. So, for example, in this entire episode was happening in the building, and the building has like this type of background, right? I don't like it. Like it doesn't seem dynamic or anything like that. And I wanted to compare it to the manga because I feel like in the manga while it's basically the same thing, but it looks better. Oh no, that's the wrong manga. This one. So here, for example, we have the hold on, I'm gonna switch to. I don't think there is equivalent shot in anime, but you kind of get the feel here as well, right? It's the same thing, but it seems less artistic. I don't know how to describe it really. The background seems too bland for me, and I hope that it will improve. But so far, like this is very noticeable to me, and I don't really want to um, like complain about animation too much because it is shonen. It's not like it's it's anime that is going to run for a lot of episodes, right? And usually when the show has a lot of episodes in animation, the animation budget goes into specific episodes, specific fights, and some like smaller fights in the beginning don't really get as high quality in animation. But I don't know. Like, I think because the anime that I watched before this was such a high quality with animation and the backgrounds and all that stuff, and music as well. I think in the first episode I was complaining about music and stuff. It's better now. I'm noticing some tracks more. I like some of the tracks already, but the animation and the background I'm still not 100% on. Like, I think it could improve. But that's background manga. Yeah, so after this, right, we get uh, no, well, I guess. So we get Bakugo basically destroying half of the building with his new attack, and this is like obviously like very strong attack, and he All Might actually warns him. He says, "Are you planning to use that? That's like a killer move." And he says, if I'm not aiming at the Deku, it's not gonna kill him. Like, it's gonna damage. It's gonna do damage, but it's not going to kill him." And All Might is the only one who hears it because, like, the rest of the class is just watching a silent movie on the monitors, I guess. So All Might is the only one who hears it over the radio, and he tries to play it cool. And this is something that I don't like. He even, or I guess the class, after seeing this, they say, "Teacher, you should stop this." And All Might even has his inner monologue, and he says, "As a teacher, I should stop this." But then he's saying, "Well, this is the first time I'm seeing Izuku passionate, because Izuku goes like, I I uh, I admire you, Katsuki. That's why I want to defeat you." And we are again delving into this point I was trying to make, where I'm not sure I vibe with the Japanese philosophy anymore, because this is also something. Oh my god! For the very first time, I'm not gonna be using Naruto as a reference. I'm gonna use Bleach as reference. In Bleach, when we learn about Rukia backstory, where she killed her lieutenant, we get from the captain this line that there are two types of fights. One, what was it? I think one to protect life and another to protect honor, or something like that. And I got a strong feeling here that it was kind of like this, where All Might didn't want to step in because he didn't want to to... Oh my god, my brain is sluggish. I'm actually losing the point. It's 2 a.m. by the way. At the night. Like he believes Izuku can do it, and he believes that this fight is necessary for him to overcome his bully and to prove that he's worthy and stuff like that. So I think he sees kind of like this aspect. But at the same time, you have Bakugo in the radio raving about Deku being like the pebble, that he's the best, that he's not gonna kill him because he's not gonna be aiming at him, but he's gonna be destroying everything else. And it's like you can hear that Bakugo is unhinged. And as a teacher, I feel like he should have stopped it. No matter what was happening with Deku, like I get that this is like a fight that Deku has to have, but also it's not the fight that he should have like a second day of school, or it is the second day of school, right? So it's so it's kind of like, man, you should really step in. You really should. But then we also get reactions of the class, or more precisely, throughout the episode we get commentary from the other classmates. And what I found fascinating is that it seems to me that the entirety of the class is on Izuku's side. And this is again builds on what I was talking in the beginning, where maybe Bakugo will be turning villain because he sees that Izuku is getting all the support suddenly. That previously he was the popular kid, and now suddenly Izuku is becoming popular. And it's also what I was talking about, the school being more focused on heroics, and this is the comments that the class makes, where they are really fascinated by Izuku, that he fights despite having quirks, or that he fights without using the quirk, that his improvisation, all that stuff, the bravery and stuff like that. The class seems to really like Izuku, and this is really interesting to see. And I think for kids it's also, I think it's also very important for kids, because very often you are, well, it could happen. I wouldn't say it's very often, but it could happen that you are in a collective that you are not vibing with, that it's not your collective, basically, right? Maybe you are not popular in middle school, but then that's not like the end of all things. Like, things change, collective change, and maybe the class in high school is going to be different. Just like here, as I mentioned, the entire class seems to be on Izuku's side, and so that was really cool to see. Not only because this helps Izuku, but also because I didn't really want to see this how should I put it, cynical view of heroes. I wanted this to be a show about superheroes. I don't want this to be a shonen version of The Boys or something like that, where the heroes again care only about fame and being celebrities than about actual heroics. So I'm happy to see that the entire class is sharing Izuku's viewpoints, basically. But we get showdown between Izuku and Katsuki, where we basically get them charging at each other, Katsuki preparing his attack, Izuku charging the Detroit Smash, which obviously is going to incapacitate him. And at this point, again, I feel like All Might is dropping the ball. And despite being happy about bringing up Bleach, I'm gonna bring up Naruto again. If you remember that fight, I assume everyone saw Naruto, but if you haven't seen Naruto, there is an important fight at the top of the hospital where Sasuke is fighting Naruto. Naruto is using Rasengan, Sasuke is using Chidori, and those are all like very powerful techniques, ninjutsus in Naruto world. It's not meant for sparring, like it's abilities to kill people, and they are using it at each other, despite being at this point supposedly friends, and they basically lose control and start fighting more seriously. And so they trigger those two attacks, and those two attacks they are deadly, and both of them realize that they cannot back down because they already triggered it, and there is basically a trajectory, and there is no way to disable it. And then their teacher shows up, and he separates them, basically deflecting both of their attacks into different directions so they don't kill each other. And here All Might just froze. I don't know how fast All Might is. So far I have not seen him to be like the Flash, that he can just in millisecond move where he needs to move and stop whatever is happening there. So far I have not seen it like this. So like the guys could have killed each other. Like it didn't work out that way, but from all Might was hearing, he could have, that there was a serious possibility that it could have ended very badly. Like he does make some comments about Katsuki or Bakugo, even though he says that he's going to fight with this serious attack. All Might kind of comments that it sounds like he's not completely gone, like he's still holding back, like he's not completely insane. So maybe because of that, but even like Izuku, he sees Izuku charging Detroit Smash, and he knows Izuku has no control over it. Fucking Detroit Smash could have completely annihilated Katsuki, and it's like, sure, Izuku is supposed to learn how to control it, but you don't learn how to control it by punching someone. You learn it in in an environment that is well suited for it, not in the middle of the, I would say, serious battle with, okay, serious battle but with a friend basically, or classmate, right? So I'm really upset with All Might. Like I'm seeing a lot of flaws with him, and yeah, he even he doesn't he sees that this is a problem, and he, instead of going there and stopping them, he tries to reason with them, not reason, but basically tells them over the radio to stop. Like, I would not expect them to listen to that, but then he himself stops because he overhears Izuku saying now to Uraraka that there is actually like a plan. And then instead of punching Katsuki, he changes the trajectory of his punch and he punches up. And I want to show you this. Actually, I don't think I can show you. Yeah, I don't think I can show you this because it's kind of like about animation, and I don't want to play the video due to copyrights and stuff like that. It's not the format that I'm going with. But so the way he goes is with his punch. He is kind of like doing what would you call it? Right hook attack, I guess, to punch Katsuki in front of him, and then he changes the trajectory for the punch to be like an uppercut to use Detroit Smash on the ceiling. And when I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck? And I'm still a little bit what the fuck. I'm not a fighter. I feel like I have to preface this. And while technically you could do this sort of movement where you go for the right hook and then instead of the hook attack you kind of like swirl into uppercut, I personally, I have never seen it. And while technically that movement is kinda possible, it feels slightly unnatural. And I honestly, like, I'm not sure if that would work. Then again, like, his Detroit Smash is probably like insanely powerful, so even if he is not using like the full force, like maybe if the movement is not entirely correct, but the force is such powerful that even though the movement is kind of wonky, the damage is still there. So I guess. So he uses this uppercut and he the Detroit Smash goes through the entire building, so there is a hole in all floors, and which also destroys the room in which Uraraka is with Tenya, and so she uses her power to lift one of the pillars, and she goes and she says, what is the attack called? Comet Home Run. And so all these little stones that are kind of like floating from the Detroit Smash, she just swings at them with this pillar and sends them towards Tenya, who gets overwhelmed, I guess. And then she jumps over. I'm sorry. I was scrolling and I thought that this is like a funny image, so I wanted to show you. So she then floats over to the bomb, and she captures it. And again, funny image. I'm really beginning to like Uraraka, and the fact that I beginning to like her is the reason why my upset about the change from the manga is amplified here, where we are kind of changing the fact that here she's really like cheerleading for Deku and navigating him, and has this trust that he will do it right. So yeah, so she gets the bomb, which obviously means that their team wins. And then we also get the shot of Deku. Fuck, I need a better shot, I think. And this will do. And here you can see that his right hand is destroyed because of the Detroit Smash, and his left hand is destroyed because of Katsuki's attack, and Deku basically falls with his body destroyed. And this is how Katsuki looks. All Might obviously says that, and I really like the delivery here, because he says, as he sees this, he says, "Hero," and then he continues, "The hero team wins," right? But when he sees the outcome basically of Izuku, he again, like heroic moment, right? He, instead of fighting, he chose to go for the team effort and winning, recovering the bomb, basically saving the whole area from blowing up, theoretically. And in the process, he has both his hands destroyed. He falls as well, but it's basically like a sacrifice, right? And Katsuki is surprised, and I'm not sure about if this is surprise about the state of Deku, or if it is surprise about losing the exercise. I hope it's about the state of Deku, and I'm hoping that this is going to be like a turning point for him, because as I mentioned, I don't want to have another Naruto Sasuke situation for 300 episodes or however many. So I'm hoping that he will turn around and that we will get some other character arc for him. So yeah, that's it. Now I want to talk about some notes in the manga. Specifically here we have Yuga Aoyama, and I absolutely love these notes, because the mangaka writes, "I don't really understand this guy myself, but he's always fun to draw, so that's nice." And that's it. And this is obviously the guy that I was mentioning. Oh, I wanted to show him. here is the reaction of the kids to what happened between Katsuki and Izuku, and here you can see that everyone is kind of like shocked, let's put it that way. But this guy, the French guy, the belly button laser guy, the French belly button laser guy, he's kind of like, he's looking kind of smug. And I do want to point out that this is something that we have seen in other episodes as well. And I speculated that maybe I will eventually start liking him. Like, I don't like the way he looks. I don't like his power. I don't like the how he uses his power, like his stances and stuff like that. I don't like it, but I feel like I may end up liking his personality, because so far he seems to be kinda like arrogant and asshole-ish. But I feel like it's something different. I feel like just like other kids in the class, he's also on the side of Izuku. And so when in one of the previous episodes we had him talking with Uraraka and saying, "Oh, are you worried? I'm not." And I feel like that I'm not wasn't because there was like an attempt to portray him as being an asshole. I think it was him saying, "Oh yeah, we have seen what Izuku is capable of. I'm sure he's going to be fine." Right? So I think that's it. And now here, like, the animation kind of tells me, "Oh yeah, I knew this is gonna happen, and I'm kind of proud that it went like this, that he did it like this." So yeah, it's but then I get this note in manga. By the way, the pink girl again, very fine. But then we get this this note in manga where I don't really understand this guy myself, and I'm like, "Oh, really, guy? Really? So what's gonna happen here? Am I misunderstanding him? Is he not fleshed out at all at this point?" Curious. But then we get more notes. We have come on, where is it? We had notes on Bakugo, and here we have a curious little thing. It's explanation of his quirk and stuff like that, but it also explains that his glands still retain their original function. So even though he controls it a little bit, it's still like not completely fantasy. So during summer he can sweat a little bit more, and during winter he's not sweating as much. So that's curious, and I wonder if this will play a role eventually. Like maybe there is going to be some winter arc where he's going to be having less powers or something like that. Who knows? Curious. Okay, I was scrolling through stuff and I found this, which again I feel like is a funny image, so I wanted to show. It's when Uraraka was jumping over Tenya. I kind of like the way she is drawn and the way she is portrayed in the anime. I am very happy that she's growing on me in the very first not the very first episode. I think it was in second episode, or whenever we met her. I think it was second or third episode. I initially was not that impressed, but now I really like her. So yeah, growing on me, and her animation is kind of fun as well. Not only the animation in manga, and oh my god, animation in anime and the way she's drawn in manga, I'm beginning to appreciate it more. So I really starting to like her. And the last thing I wanted to show is, come on, where is it? This. So this is a dossier for another classmates. This is Toru Hagakura, and she is you can see her you can see her here as well, or more precisely you can't, because she's invisible, but this floating hand to the right, that's basically her, and you can see it here on the cover as well. She's all the way to the left, the two gloves and one boot. And so if you remember, I actually speculated that if we can see gloves, and we could have we've seen the track uniform in previous episode, does this mean that the clothes are visible but her body is invisible? So does this mean that she is naked? And yeah, that's what he says here. Instead of the sketches, he writes here that she's fully nude, and she started out as a dude, but at some point I realized she would be a whole lot more fun as a girl. Okay, so it's a girl, she's completely nude, and she's invisible. He says that he wants to properly introduce the quirk, but so far there was no opportunity. But yeah, so I was right. There is a completely naked girl running around being a superhero. So yeah, I love it. Love it. Anyway, that's it for today's review of My Hero Academia. I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. At least I think so. Again, I was hoping that it's going to be a shorter video, but again, it's 2 hours. I'm struggling with the runtime, if I'm being honest. I know that longer videos are not as popular on YouTube, and I know that if I was editing videos, maybe I could cut some of the silences, some of the rambling, maybe, and I could speed up my voice. That would probably work as well. And then also, if I wrote a script, maybe I could speed up the process as well, where I wouldn't be as rambly. But I want to be authentic. I want to do what is fun, and I feel like I don't really have time for editing. Like it's gonna be taking too much time that I could use on something else. And I feel like even if I did all of that just because I want to talk about all the things that I talked about in this episode, I feel like the video would still be maybe not 2 hours, but like maybe an hour and a half. So I'm sticking with this format. I hope you guys don't mind. I guess put me on higher playback speed if you want. But yeah, I think that this is it. I think this series is just going to be long format with long videos. if someone is listening to this, I really appreciate it. I'm having difficulties with reviews because I don't really want to do a professional review, and I don't want to devolve into just like a recap video or whatever. I feel like I'm adding more speculations and explanations and like my own personal experiences. So I feel like it's something that could be interesting, but at the same time I also fear that someone just stumbling over 2-hour-long video that doesn't really show anything from the show, just some guy talking about the episode over a picture from manga, then I'm not sure if anyone would be sticking around, but if you did, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Subscribe if you haven't already. Go beyond plus ultra, clench your buttocks, and Detroit smash the like button. Leave a comment if you want to mention something, and we will see each other next time. Goodbye.